Imagine a place darker than a prison cell, dirtier than a pigsty, and filled with more regrets than a bad hangover. Welcome to the medieval brothel. Forget what you've seen in movies. Romance here didn't involve rose petals. It involved questionable hygiene and a serious lack of fresh air. Before we get comfortable, or rather uncomfortable, take a second to hit that like button and subscribe. Do it only if you enjoy diving into the weird, factual, and slightly disturbing side of history. Also, let me know in the comments, what time is it where you are right now? Now turn down the lights. We are going back in time. Have you ever wondered what these places were actually like? Was it luxury and wine? Or was it drafty rooms and soup that tasted like old socks? How did the workers survive the drama? What did they eat, wear, and, most importantly, did anyone actually ever wash? Let's find out. Picture this: you wake up. It's the year 1352. You are standing in the middle of a medieval red light district. You're cold, confused, and your head is pounding from ale that was probably brewed in a bathtub. You walk down a narrow alleyway. It smells terrible, like rotting vegetables from last season. Finally, you see a flickering light and a creaky door. You step inside. The air is heavy with smoke, cheap perfume, and a lot of nervous energy. Welcome to your home for the night. Oh, and ignore the rats. They're basically the permanent tenants. Let's look around. You've lost feeling in your toes because you stepped in 3 mystery puddles on the way here. Outside, you hear the sounds of the night. Shouting, things breaking, and people emptying their chamber pots directly onto the street. This isn't a hotel. It's part tavern, part boarding house, and a total fever dream. The smell hits you like a brick wall, a mix of stale beer, damp wool, and way too much lavender trying to hide the stench of unwashed humanity. The furniture looks like it was scavenged from a dumpster. Everything is mismatched, left behind by customers who couldn't pay or simply disappeared. There's a table that looks like it's about to collapse and a tapestry on the wall that's so faded you can't tell if it's a religious painting or a picture of a food fight. A woman in a bonnet stares at you. She doesn't care about your name. No one uses real names here anyway. She just wants to know if you have cash. You hand over your coins, she counts them twice and pockets them instantly. Receipts? Those haven't been invented yet. You just have to trust she remembers you paid. Look at the other guests. There's a merchant passed out on the bar, missing his shoes. 2 farmhands are whispering in the corner, trying to work up the nerve to talk to someone. And a minor nobleman is trying to blend in, but his clean boots give him away immediately. You are shown to your room. It's basically a small space separated from the next guy by a thin, moth-eaten curtain. The mattress is just a sack filled with crunchy straw, stained with things you don't want to think about. Your candle is tiny, barely giving off enough light to see your roommates. And yes, you have roommates. 2 stray cats, a fearless mouse, and a grumpy rooster who seems angry to be there. The walls are paper thin. You can hear everything: people eating, counting money, arguing about stale bread, and other activities we won't mention. Just as you try to relax, the madam appears. She offers you wine that is suspiciously thick. You drink it anyway because the only other option is well water, and drinking that is basically a death sentence. As the night goes on, you pull your scratchy blanket up and realize how much you miss modern inventions, like door locks and soap. Now let's talk about who really runs this place. Forget the king. The madam is the absolute boss here. She rules this house with an iron fist, or sometimes a wooden spoon. She has more authority than the police and a better memory than a banker. She knows exactly who owes what. She moves through the chaos slowly, afraid of nothing. Her dress is a patchwork of velvet and wool, her hair is pulled back tight, and she can silence a bar fight with a single raised eyebrow. Her job never ends. She manages the bookings, checks the supplies, and negotiates prices. Legend has it, someone once tried to pay her with fake money, and she chased him down 3 blocks to get her payment plus interest. She knows every secret in town. She has spies everywhere, mostly nosy neighbors. She acts as a boss, a therapist and security guard all in one. She settles arguments, gives out loans with interest, and can spot a liar instantly. Try to trick her and you'll end up cleaning the stables. To the outside world, she's terrifying. But to her workers, she's the only thing standing between them and the harsh streets. She keeps the roof from collapsing and the food on the table. So, if you ever visit a medieval brothel, rule number 1, respect the madam. But before you can even settle in, she hands you a piece of paper. It's the house rules, and the list is longer than a church sermon. So, you've met the madam, and she's handed you a scrap of parchment with suspicious stains on it. Congratulations, you are now holding the house rules. And let me tell you, surviving a night here isn't just about stamina, it's about obedience. The ink is blotchy and some of the rules look like they were added in a panic 5 minutes ago. Let's read the fine print. Rule number 1, no fighting. This isn't a gladiator arena. If you want to challenge someone to a duel because they looked at you funny, take it outside. Broken chairs cost money, and the madam isn't running a furniture repair shop. Bruised egos are free, broken furniture is not. Rule number 2, cash only. Forget, I'll pay you tomorrow, or, I left my wallet in my other tunic. Unless you are the king himself, no money means no entry. Attempts to trade your chickens or second-best shoes for entry will be met with a glare so cold it could freeze hell over. Rule number 3, no singing after midnight. This rule exists because of that one guy. Legend has it, a bard once tried to serenade the whole street with a 40-minute ballad about turnips. Now, if you sing past 12, you're scrubbing the floors. And finally, the golden rule, do not touch the soap. Soap in a medieval brothel is rarer than a dragon. It's usually a tiny, sad lump that smells like old fat and mystery chemicals. But it is precious. If you steal the soap, everyone will know, because you'll be the only person in the building who doesn't smell like a wet goat. Soap is a privilege, not a right. And one last thing, no livestock upstairs. Apparently, a goat caused an incident last year that the carpet never fully recovered from. Now look down at yourself. What are you wearing? If you've been watching too many Hollywood movies, you're probably imagining silk robes, velvet corsets, and feathered masks. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but reality is much itchier. Welcome to the world of medieval distressed chic. Most workers here aren't wearing silk. They are wearing layers of threadbare linen and wool that have seen more battles than a knight's shield. The fabric is usually a color we can best describe as historical beige or stain-patterned gray. The dress code is determined by 2 things: is it warm? And does it have huge holes? If the answer is yes and maybe, you're dressed for success. And let's talk about accessories. You won't find diamonds here. The most common accessory is lice. Yes, in an era where bathing happens once a season, lice are basically part of the uniform. If you see someone scratching, don't worry, it's just the house rhythm. Shoes are communal property. You grab whatever pair is near the door. One might have no laces, the other might be 2 sizes too big, and all of them are permanently damp. If you're lucky enough to own a pair of clean, dry socks, guard them with your life. In this place, dry socks are worth more than gold. So, forget the glamour. The vibe here isn't royal palace, it's more like, I survived the plague and all I got was this itchy tunic. You've got the rules, you've got the outfit. Now look around the room. Who are these people? The clientele of a medieval brothel is a who's who of bad decisions. First, you have the merchants. They walk in loud, jingling their coin purses. They love to haggle over the price of a room for 20 minutes, only to tip with a foreign coin that nobody accepts. They will talk your ear off about the time they almost met a duke. Then there are the soldiers. You'll smell them before you see them. They are caked in mud, travel in packs, and their boots are usually destroying the floorboards. If you want to know which towns just got burned down, ask them. Just don't expect them to have table manners. In the shadows, you'll see the travelers. These guys are just tired. They have a walking stick, a sack of regrets, and they just want to sleep without being rained on. They don't care if the soup is watery or if the mattress bites back. They're just happy to be indoors. And finally, the clergy. Yes, priests. Officially, they are here to save souls and check on the spiritual health of the establishment. Unofficially, they are usually the ones hiding in the back corner when the city guards walk by. They preach about sin and poverty, but somehow always seem to lose their coin purses under the pillows. Occasionally, you might spot a nobleman in a terrible disguise. He thinks wearing a common hat makes him invisible, but his velvet cape and soft hands give him away instantly. Everyone pretends not to know who he is, mostly because it's funny to watch him try to act poor. So there you have it, the greedy, the smelly, the tired, and the holy. But hold on. The night is just getting started and you haven't even seen the food yet. Now let's break your modern heart. If you're imagining a steamy, rose-scented bath after a long night, lower your expectations. Lower them all the way to the basement. The spa experience, here is a leaky wine barrel in the yard. The water? It's lukewarm at best. And remember, they don't change the water between customers. By the third person, it's not a bath, it's a biological experiment. Soap is rarer than gold. It's a grayish lump that smells like sheep fat and onions. If you try to use more than your fair share, the madam will hunt you down. Most people just splash some water on their face and call it a day. A full body wash is reserved for holidays or plagues. The result? Everyone smells. It's a mix of sweat, stale ale, and whatever herbs they threw on the fire to mask the stench. Lavender if you're lucky, cabbage if you're not. And the lice? They aren't pests, they are practically employees. Flea picking is a communal bonding activity here. Okay, so you're cleanish. Time for bed. But wait, privacy is a total fantasy. Your bedroom isn't a private suite. It's a room you share with 3 snoring humans, 2 chickens, and a goat who refuses to leave. The mattress is a sack of crunchy straw on the floor. If you're lucky, you get the spot in the middle, away from the drafty walls. But watch out for the chickens, they are your alarm clock and your nightmare. And the goat? He hogs the blanket. Don't try to fight him, he has tenure. The soundtrack of your night is a symphony of snores, someone muttering in their sleep in Old French, and the rustling of mice. On cold nights, everyone huddles together like a human lasagna for warmth. You might wake up spooning a coworker or with a chicken on your chest. And let's not forget the interruptions. Customers blunder into the wrong room constantly. The temperature swings from freezing to a sauna. And yet, in this chaos, stories are whispered in the dark and secrets are shared. You are never, ever alone. The sun goes down and for most of the world, the day ends. But here, the real work is just beginning. Forget the 9 to 5, this is the 5 to 9 a.m. The common room transforms. The oil lamps flicker, casting everyone in a golden glow that hides the dirt. The tables fill up with merchants spending too much money, soldiers looking for a fight, and clergy whispering apologies. The air gets thick with smoke and cheap perfume. The staff move through the crowd, dodging flying tankards and unwanted hands. Laughter rises and falls, most of it fake, some of it real. Everyone is pretending to be happier and richer than they actually are. But as the night drags on, things start to get messy. And that's when the real trouble usually begins. The barmaid is in the corner telling wild stories to a soldier. She's inventing tales about dragons just to keep him entertained, because reality here is a boring beverage nobody wants to drink. For the workers, the night shift is a marathon. They have to charm customers, pour drinks, sing songs, and break up fights, all while wearing a dress made of recycled bedsheets. If you think your customer service job is tough, imagine doing it in a room where the fire keeps dying and half the guests don't remember your name. On any given night, you might witness a marriage proposal, a dramatic confession, or a brawl over a spilled drink. Secrets are currency here. Everyone trades a little bit of their own for a piece of someone else's. And do they sleep? Absolutely not. Breaks are just moments to sneak outside into the cold, sit on a crate of onions and stare at the moon. When dawn finally breaks, the rooster crows, the goat yawns, and you realize you haven't slept in years. Welcome to the night shift. Now let's talk about the food. Or as I like to call it, the game show where the prize is not getting food poisoning. Dinner is served. It is pottage. Again. Pottage is a thick, questionable stew that contains vegetables, grains, and maybe a pigeon. If you're lucky, the meat isn't moving. The cauldron on the fire is basically a historical record of everything that has entered the kitchen this month. The ingredients? Sad carrots, onions from the bottom of a sack, and mystery meat that they label pigeon for legal reasons. Sometimes it's rabbit. Sometimes it's rat. And once in a blue moon, it's a very unlucky chicken. And the bread? It's dense, gray, and hard enough to be used as a weapon in a bar fight. If you drop a loaf, it might crack the floor. Butter? Jeez, forget it. Those are for rich people. The kitchen is a disaster zone. The cook wields a ladle like a sword and threatens anyone who complains. Dessert is a myth. So eat your lumpy stew, hope you don't crack a tooth, and remember, if you're still hungry, there's always more pottage. There is always more pottage. So, who keeps the peace in this chaotic place? A bouncer with huge muscles? A knight in armor? No. It's a dog. Meet Brutus, the ancient mastiff. He is as wide as a wheelbarrow and is paid strictly in leftover bones. Brutus is the undisputed king of the doorway. His security clearance method is simple. He sniffs you. Do you smell like trouble? Or do you smell like sausage? If a fight breaks out, Brutus doesn't bark. He just walks into the middle of it and looks at everyone with deep disappointment. That usually stops the fight immediately. He has his own rules too. Leave food unattended? It's his now. Disturb his nap? You might lose a shoe. Petty thieves and angry bishops all hesitate at the door. Because in a medieval brothel, the bouncer might be asleep, but he has a bite force that can crack a soup bone. But the biggest threat isn't a drunk customer. It's the law. Technically, brothels exist in a gray area. Sometimes they are tolerated. Sometimes the church decides it's time for a cleanse. So how do they survive? Bribes. The madam keeps a stash of coins hidden under a floorboard. When the bailiff knocks, the protocol is simple. Pour him a drink and slide the money across the table. Is everything in order? He asks. Yes, take the money and leave, the bribe says. But sometimes a raid happens. A lookout screams a warning and chaos erupts. Ale is spilled, customers are shoved out the back door, and suddenly, everyone starts scrubbing the floor or reading Bibles like they are innocent saints. The madam pulls out a fake ledger. The wine disappears. And everyone blames Marjorie for anything illegal. It's a constant game of cat and mouse. One foot in the shadows, one eye on the door. Because in this business, being caught is expensive, and the dungeon is even less comfortable than the brothel. In this business, social connections are better than insurance. Maybe your cousin is the night watchman, or a regular customer is the magistrate's nephew. When the law comes knocking, you don't panic. You put on your innocent face, remember your fake name, and pray the madam has the bribe ready. In the medieval brothel, the line between legal and illegal is flexible. And if all else fails, just blame Marjorie. Everyone always blames Marjorie. But the biggest danger isn't the law, it's the germs. Brothel life is basically a bingo card of medieval illnesses. There are no antibiotics, no condoms, and the best medical advice you'll get is, drink more ale and try not to die. The house medic is usually just the oldest worker with a jar of suspicious ointment and a deep belief in the power of boiled onions. Respiratory issues? Everyone coughs. There are no tissues, so people use their sleeves, which is great for spreading germs. If someone sneezes, the only response is to light more candles as if fire scares away the plague. And then there are the occupational hazards. Syphilis, the pox, and mysterious rashes are just part of the job. The local apothecary sells miracle tonics that taste like regret and turnips. Do they work? No. Do people buy them? Absolutely. Food poisoning is so common it has nicknames like the pottage purge. Water is untrustworthy, so you drink weak wine to avoid dysentery. In the end, healthcare here is a mix of luck, resilience, and pretending you don't see that weird spot on your arm. Now let's talk money. Wages are paid nightly. But don't get excited, so are the debts. The madam takes her cut first. Then comes the rent for your lumpy mattress. Then there's a deduction for broken crockery, or emotional damages to the goat. And don't forget Brutus, the bouncer dog. He expects a bribe of cheese or bones to look the other way when you sneak an extra drink. By the time everyone takes their share, what's left? Maybe enough for a tart apple or some new socks. Saving money? Good luck. Most workers hide their coins inside old boots or bury them in the chicken coop. But somehow the house always wins. The madam's ledger always balances in her favor. It's not magic, it's medieval accounting. But it's not all work and disease. When business is slow, the brothel transforms into a low-budget talent show. Picture it. The candles are low, Brutus is snoring by the fire, and someone decides it's time for entertainment. First up, singing. Someone, usually a cook who claims she once performed for a baron, belts out a tune about lost love or goats. The audience joins in, completely out of tune. It's chaotic, loud, and beautiful in a weird way. If singing fails, get ready for the puppet show. The puppets are made of old socks and turnips with painted faces. The story? Usually a mockery of the latest town scandal. If you are the target of the joke, you get roasted mercilessly. And then the main event, juggling. In theory, it's impressive. In practice, it's just a drunk farmhand throwing candlesticks and bread rolls into the air. Brutus the dog has learned to hide under the table whenever someone yells, "Catch." Games are played with loaded dice and cards that have no rules. Or the house favorite, "What's that smell?" A guessing game nobody ever truly wins. It's messy, it's loud, and it's the only time everyone forgets their worries. For a few minutes, nobody cares about the debts, the law, or the pottage. They just dance, laugh, and hope the night never ends. But of course the night always ends. And when the sun comes up, reality hits you like a bucket of cold water. Forget the town crier. The fastest news network in the Middle Ages is the brothel. Welcome to Gossip Central. Here, information travels faster than ale. A scandalous secret can go from the kitchen to the front door in under 5 minutes. By the time it reaches the street, the story has changed 3 times. Did the bishop's nephew really steal a chicken? Is the mayor secretly visiting in a disguise that fools absolutely no one? Here the walls have ears, and so does Brutus the dog. If you sneeze at dinner, by morning the whole town thinks there's a plague. Foreign merchants are grilled for news. Is that bag full of gold or just pepper? Travelers trade rumors for extra soup. In a world without Twitter or newspapers, gossip is currency. It's how alliances are made and reputations are destroyed. So, if you have a secret, keep your mouth shut. Because here, news travels at the speed of shame. But amidst the sin and scandal, there is prayer. Every worker here juggles a dangerous job with a deep fear of hell. The local priest visits often, officially to save souls, unofficially to check who is there. Every Sunday he condemns the place from the pulpit, while half the congregation tries not to make eye contact because they saw him there last Tuesday. Faith is a balancing act. Some workers pray before their shift, some pray after. Some just hope God is too busy to notice them. Confession is a strategic game. You admit to being less than virtuous, but leave out the specific details. The priest gives you 10 Hail Marys, mostly to boost his numbers. But for many, faith is comfort. In a world where a bad winter means starvation, a little prayer is the only insurance policy they have. Even the madam says, God helps those who help themselves, usually while counting her money. Sometimes the people walking through the door aren't looking for pleasure. They're looking for trouble. Enter the unwanted guests, spies, blackmailers, and recruiters. First, the nobles in disguise. They arrive wearing a commoner's hat, but shoes that cost more than the building. They are nervous, looking for a rival, a rebellious son, or blackmail material. If the madam is lucky, she gets a bribe to forget she saw them. If not, the whole staff has to pretend they are blind. Then the spies. They sit in the corner, nursing a drink for 3 hours, listening to everything. They ask casual questions about the mayor or the king. By the time you realize you've said too much, they are gone. And the worst of all, the recruiters. These guys promise glory, riches, and clean water if you join their crusade. Spoiler alert, the last guy who joined spent 3 weeks digging ditches and came back begging for his old job. When a recruiter walks in, suddenly everyone in the brothel has a headache or an urgent chore to do. Blackmailers take notes. Spies vanish into the night. And the workers go back to their prayers and their pottage. Because in a medieval brothel, surviving the customers is easy. Surviving the politics? That's the real challenge. But how does it all end? What happens when you get too old for the life, or when the city decides to shut it all down? When the unwanted guests arrive, the atmosphere changes instantly. Laughter dies down. Everyone suddenly looks very busy scrubbing invisible spots on the table. The regular customers sense it too. Suddenly they remember they have a family at home or urgent work to do. The madam has her own counterintelligence strategy. She moves through the room like a shark. If she hears something she doesn't like, she accidentally spills ale on the spy's table. Or she orchestrates a loud sing-along to drown out any secret conversations. And if that fails, she sends Brutus the dog to sit next to the spy. Nothing discourages a secret agent quite like a gallon of dog drool on his expensive boots. So, what do you do if you spot a spy? You pretend to be asleep, or deaf, or just claim you're the cook. Nobody ever suspects the person stirring the stew. By morning, the spy is gone, and the brothel returns to its usual chaos. In a world where secrets are currency, the medieval brothel is a bank with very wobbly walls. Now let's talk about healthcare. Or as I like to call it, optimistic experimentation. In the medieval brothel, medicine is part superstition, part kitchen leftovers, and 100% terrifying. If you get sick, likely from the mattress, definitely not from the soup, the doctor, who is just the oldest worker, will prescribe something that would make a modern pharmacist faint. The golden rule is, if the medicine doesn't cure you, it should at least taste bad enough to make you stop complaining. Remedy number 1. Leeches. Leeches are the Swiss Army knife of medieval medicine. Sore throat? Leeches. Fever? More leeches. Mysterious swelling? Leeches and a prayer. The kitchen has a jar of them next to the vinegar. Remedy number 2. Onions. Onions are the house favorite. They rub them on bruises, put them under pillows to ward off bad spirits, and stuff them in socks to draw out the illness. Even if it doesn't work, at least you'll be the healthiest smelling person in the room. Remedy number 3. Honey and hot iron. For cuts, they slap on some honey. For serious infections, they use a hot iron. Yes, cauterization. It's exactly as painful as it sounds. The only anesthesia available is bite this stick and try not to scream too loud. The neighbors are listening. So, the next time you have a cold, be grateful for antibiotics. Here, your only hope is a leech, an onion in your sock, and a lot of luck. When the sun comes up, reality hits hard. The oil lamps flicker out. Brutus is snoring by the fire. The last drunk customer has passed out with his head in a barrel. It's time for a full-body inventory. Are your socks still yours, or did the goat steal them? Where did that bruise come from? Did you survive the night? Then comes breakfast. The kitchen smells of bubbling pottage. On a good day there's bread. On a bad day you have to fish a rat out of the stew. Everyone eats quickly, eyes closed, pretending it's a culinary masterpiece. Workers compare their earnings. Some made money, some barely broke even. Everyone is suspicious of Marjorie, who always seems to have more silver than anyone else. And finally, let's talk about the worst idea anyone can have in a brothel: falling in love. It happens. A traveling poet falls for a worker. A merchant's son wants to rescue someone. They leave love notes under straw mattresses and sneak extra treats from the kitchen. For a few days it's magical. But spoiler alert, this isn't a fairy tale. It's a cautionary tale with a soundtrack of bad loot music. Because in this place, the only thing more fleeting than your wages is a promise whispered in the dark. Suddenly, the mood in the room changes. Every song is about doomed lovers, and even Brutus the dog looks embarrassed. Romance in a brothel is universally regarded as a terrible idea. But that doesn't stop anyone. A customer gets drunk on cheap wine and proposes marriage to Marjorie, usually the wrong Marjorie. It's tradition to accept the proposal. At least until the morning when everyone sobers up and realizes real life isn't a ballad. But sometimes real affection happens. A shared joke, a whispered promise to split tips. These quiet romances aren't about destiny, they're about survival. Of course there are heartbreaks. A customer leaves town. A worker chases a better bread ration. The madam says romance is bad for business. Love is a luxury, darling. Rent is not. But even she has been seen softening when a couple shares the good blanket. So if you're looking for love here, remember, it's messy, complicated, and rarely ends well. But for a few hours, even the hardest hearts can be softened by a good song. Now let's talk fashion hazards. Welcome to the wardrobe wars. Here the greatest danger isn't the plague, it's your own clothes. Buttons are mythical creatures. Everything is held together by laces, long, tangled, unpredictable laces. Each shift starts with panic. Someone is cursing at a knot. Marjorie is rethreading her corset for the 5th time. There's a running joke. The fastest way to end up undressed isn't with a customer, it's by losing a wrestling match with your own tunic. Accidental flashes are met with applause. A wardrobe malfunction usually means dashing behind a curtain. Spoiler, there are never enough curtains. The brothel handyman is a legend. He spends his nights patching elbows and untangling knots that look like maritime puzzles. So if you visit, befriend the handyman. Modesty is optional, but a sense of humor is essential. Not everyone is here just for the company. Some are here for the side hustle. The brothel is a swirling mass of sticky fingers. The only thing more common than a cough is the sudden disappearance of your stuff. Rule number 1, guard your purse. Tie it to your waist, hide it under your clothes, and then sit on it. Rule number 2, watch your shoes. A decent pair of boots is currency. Thieves will swap your shoes for a pair 2 sizes too small, leaving you wondering if your feet grew overnight. Rule number 3, protect your breakfast. Look away for 1 second and your bread is gone. Where does the stolen loot go? Check under the mattress. Check the pillowcase. But mostly check under Brutus. The dog sleeps on top of everything: sausages, socks, coins. If it's soft or smells interesting, it's his now. Petty crime is just part of the routine. If you can't find your shirt, check the laundry pile. If you can't find your breakfast, well, maybe you can borrow someone else's. And finally, let's meet the real residents. In a medieval brothel, animals aren't just pets. They are bed warmers, burglar alarms, and occasional emergency food. The goat. He roams the halls with the entitlement of a landlord. He eats tunic hems, steals blankets, and headbutts anyone who annoys him. His singing reviews are brutal. Sing off key and he will bleat in judgment. The chickens. They are supposed to be outside. They never are. They are the alarm system, squawking at strangers and hopping into beds to warm up. So when you book a room, just remember, you aren't paying for privacy. You're paying for a spot in the zoo. Living with animals in a brothel isn't like having a pet. It's like having really bad roommates who don't pay rent. The chicken. It decides your chest is the perfect place to sleep at 3 a.m. Waking up to a chicken on your face gives you a heart rate worthy of a battle. The goat. He eats cloaks, chases strangers, and judges your singing voice. But on cold nights he's a surprisingly good heater. The cats. They are silent and selective. They only cuddle if you've had a terrible day or if you're wearing black. We mostly keep them to catch mice, and hope the priest doesn't call them witches. And then there's Brutus, the bouncer dog. He picks the warmest spot on the floor, or wherever someone left food. If he chooses you as his favorite, congratulations. You are now trapped under 120 pounds of snoring loyalty until dawn. Your animal roommates are survivors, comedians, and the best friends you never asked for. Just don't expect them to respect your privacy. After one night here, you are already planning your escape. Everyone has a harebrained scheme brewing. Plan A, marriage. You hope a wealthy merchant falls in love with you, ignores the lice and takes you away. Spoiler, usually they just move 2 streets over. Plan B, run away with the lute player. They have dreamy eyes and cool songs. But then you remember they sleep in carts and eat worse stew than you do. Plan C, hide in a barrel. One worker spent an afternoon hiding behind ale casks until the goat gave away her position. Most escape plans fall apart after the first round of ale. Someone realizes they can't leave their shoes, or they'll miss Brutus. So you stay. Because for all its chaos, the brothel is predictable. And besides, nobody else knows how to tie the curtains just right. Every brothel has ghost stories. The most famous is the unpaid guest. He vanished owing silver and now haunts the halls, rattling his empty purse. Then there's the lovesick monk who whispers sweet nothings from dark corners. If your blanket gets tugged at night, it's probably him or the goat. The cook claims her ladle is cursed because it always disappears. And if you hear whispering in the walls, it's either a ghost or just the council of rats plotting to overthrow Brutus. These stories are oddly comforting. They are a way to laugh off the creaky floors and mysterious stains. Just remember, it's surviving the living that's the real trick. But amidst the ghosts and goats there is joy. Birthdays. Nobody knows their actual birth date, so they just pick a day when everyone needs cheering up. The cake is a stale loaf of bread with a twig stuck in it. The crown is made of ribbons and bread crusts. It usually tilts and the goat tries to eat it. The madam gives a speech, "May you age better than last week's pottage." Then comes the birthday song, completely out of tune with the dog barking along. Gifts are practical, a patched sock, a piece of string, or the honor of not cleaning the privy for a day. For a few hours the drafty room feels warm. Laughter fills the air, and for a moment, life in a medieval brothel feels almost like a party. Until the candle sets the tablecloth on fire. Sometimes disaster strikes. Not a raid, not a fire, but a family visit. A knock on the door. Not the confident knock of a customer, but the hesitant tap of an aunt holding a pie. Panic erupts. Quick. Hide the dice. Somebody fetch a clean apron. Suddenly the brothel transforms. The loudest gambler becomes the night shift bookkeeper. The flirt becomes the assistant cook. Even Brutus the dog sits up straight. The visitor is ushered in. This is Marjorie, she works in guest relations. And this is Will, he fixes things. Nobody specifies what things. Questions are dodged like arrows. Do you work long hours? Yes, Aunt Agnes. Why does the dog have his own bowl at the table? He's on a special diet. The visit is a delicate dance of lies and burnt pie. When the aunt finally leaves, the whole house collapses in relief. At least everyone got a slice of pie. We aren't the only game in town. There's a rival house up the street and the competition is fierce. It's a silent war of stolen laundry and pettiness. One day, you wake up to find your sign swapped with a plank that says, "Spiritual cleansing." The rival house gets a sign that says, "All chickens welcome." The pranks escalate. Someone once filled a rival's privy with frogs. And the legendary incident, the blue goat. Someone dyed a rival's goat bright blue. It stayed blue for months. But despite the sabotage, there's a twisted camaraderie. When the church launches a raid, the feud is forgotten. Everyone bands together to hide the wine and scrub the floors. Because in the end, nothing unites enemies faster than a common threat and a painted goat. And finally, the cycle continues. Every few months, a new apprentice arrives. They are wide-eyed, clutching their only tunic, completely unprepared for the chaos. Their initiation is brutal. Lesson 1. Never trust the soap. Lesson 2. Never sit on the good chair. It's broken. Lesson 3. Cleaning duty means chasing chickens off the stairs. Older workers fill their heads with terrifying advice. Don't ask what's in the pottage. Just eat it. By midnight, the apprentice is knee-deep in spilled ale, overwhelmed and regretting every life choice. But if they survive the first night, they might just make it to payday, assuming they haven't run away with the lute player by then. Their first assignment is always the kitchen. The new apprentice is handed a spoon as long as their arm and told to stir a cauldron of pottage. "What's in it?" they ask. "Don't ask," the cook shouts, hitting them with a ladle. Then they are sent to the floor. They have to dodge spilled ale, grabby hands, and Brutus, who blocks the hallway until he gets a sausage bribe. And just when they think it's over, the chicken escapes. A drunk customer starts singing. And suddenly the apprentice is mopping puddles while wrangling livestock. Midnight arrives. The apprentice is slumped against a wall, exhausted. The madam walks by. "Still here? Good. That's it. That's the graduation ceremony. You survived. Now do it again tomorrow." When a medieval storm hits, the brothel turns into a sinking ship. The wind howls, the roof leaks, and someone shouts the magic words, "Bucket Brigade." Half the staff grabs buckets. The other half grabs anything that holds water. The floor turns into a slip-and slide of mud and wet straw. Brutus the dog sulks behind the firewood. The goat takes the high ground, standing on a table like a king surveying his wet kingdom. The madam orders every candle to be lit, but the wind keeps blowing them out. Upstairs, it's a battle for the dry spots. A warm corner near the hearth will cost you tomorrow's breakfast. Privacy is non-existent. You weather the storm together, swapping ghost stories in the dark, until the sun comes up and you realize you have to clean all this mud. Once a year, to keep spirits high, the house holds an election. Candidates campaign shamelessly. "Vote for me and I'll sneak you extra cheese. My administration guarantees 2 extra minutes with the communal comb." Bribery is required. Soap is the gold standard of currency. Even Brutus gets courted with belly scratches. Debates are held in the common room. Should the rooster be allowed inside? How do we keep the bathwater clean? One year, the goat ran as a joke candidate. He came in second place, thanks to the farm animal block. Ballots are cast on scraps of cloth or bread crusts. If there's a tie, it's settled by arm wrestling or a sing-off judged by the goat. The winner gets a dented tiara and the honor of organizing the laundry schedule. It's messy, it's loud, and it's medieval democracy at its finest. And so, life in the brothel goes on. Storms pass. Elections end. Apprentices become veterans. It's a hard life, full of pottage, fleas, and bad romance. But amidst the chaos there is laughter. There is friendship. And there is always a story to tell. So, if you ever find yourself wandering through a medieval town and see a flickering light down a dark alley, maybe just keep walking. Unless, of course, you want to meet the goat. Thanks for joining us on this bedtime discovery. Sleep tight, check your shoes for surprises, and I'll see you in the next video.